Anytime that it goes into these negotiations and situations, I always know that I have my voice and I'm going to continue to use it until I get what I feel like we've earned and we've deserved. And we're going to continue to do that. And I think the biggest thing is understanding that this is no laughing matter. This is no trend. This is no moment in just right now. We're talking about long-term stuff. This is a business. This is a brand. You're dealing with me, my livelihood, my future, the next generation. So we're going to take this very, very seriously, and I think we're not going to stop until we understand exactly what we want. I definitely feel like the league understands exactly what we have, and we know, and they know that we know how much our voice really, really carries. And at some point, I know that could be a little frightening, but we don't care. I feel like everybody in this room knows that when it comes to us as the W, we're going to always be a united front when it comes to things that really matter and what we care about. And we're going to put our best foot forward every single time. We know what it takes, exactly what it takes. When we see the revenue, when we see things flowing into our league, we want that. Like, we are going to demand that because we see it and we see the growth. And when you see a business growing, obviously the people that are working for the business should have some say in that as well.
Yesterday was an eye-opener for me, like hearing the things and hearing the language of things, and not things that I was happy to hear. It was disrespectful to things that we were sent back, the proposals that we were sent back, and knowing that, like, this is for the next generation. Like, it's important to be able to be vocal. If I sit back, it looks like I don't care. Like, and I know my voice and I know my platform. You love it or you hate it, I know it gets views. So I just know that I have to be a vocal. I have to sit at that table one day. But I right now, we have great leaders.
Callie Finn, happy WNBA Monday. And look, Asia and Angel said the things, and it was a consistent theme from the players. In the midst of WNBA All-Star Weekend, there was a lot of CBA talk, Callie, a lot of CBA conversations, and I don't want to, like, overshadow isn't even the right word because it didn't overshadow the weekend, but it was a very prominent part also of this weekend. And our first kind of, I think, real insight, we've had some little inklings and clues about maybe how the conversations were going, but the players, there was a big meeting of, I believe, 40 plus players, with the commissioner and some others. And based on just reading the tea leaves, it doesn't sound like right now where they are in the process that they're close right now. It doesn't sound like that, Callie.
No, I mean, certainly not. You just heard Angel Reese say that the proposal that the league gave back to the players was disrespectful. And I think another player was quoted in an article calling it BS. And I think that's something that we have to pay attention to. So many of the women in the WNBA are college educated, they are smart, and they feel like they are not being treated as such in these negotiations. Like, you hear Asia Wilson talking about how the players see all the money that's flowing into the league, and she's really emphasizing this is a business. That's true. The WNBA just cashed in on a new $2.2 billion media deal. And then you roll out this news of expansion, and the fee to have a team is $250 million. Like, the players see this money. I mean, as someone who covers the Aces, I look at, they sold for $2 million in 2021. Now they're valuated around like $300 million. Right. And they're not even like the richest, like, that's not even the largest valuation in the WNBA right now. So if you look around the league, Asia is certainly not the only player who's seeing the growth firsthand. And it's understandable that these players are demanding more. And to be clear, they're demanding a revenue share, a percentage of that money. They're
a higher percentage, which right now is very low. And just for comparison, NBA players, I believe, get half of it. So they get 50. It's a 50-50 split. And I think WNBA players only get 9%, is it, if I'm correct?
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct.
And so, come on, people. Like, what are we doing? And, the point that what you said about the fact that they are very smart and they know business and they don't feel like they are being treated with that respect. There was a report that, it's been said, more than once to NECA, the president of the union, that, players don't know business, whether that's a direct quote or some form of it one way or the other. that's been said to her. And I asked Nneka about that on the orange carpet, and she goes, I wouldn't say it's reports. She said, I've heard that from the commissioner, in one form or another. So whether those were the exact words, that's how Nneka interpreted it and took it. I asked Asia about that too, in terms of when she hears that, what does she think about it? And she says, I laugh. Like that, she laughs. And just they think it's ridiculous, the idea. Like so many of them are like individual businesses, right? And they have foundations. Nafisa talks about it. Her and Stewie, they formed Unrival. All these players, many of them, they have their own foundations, right? Nneka went to Stanford. So many, it's not even about the school you went to. It's just, these are really, really smart women. And I'm just wondering also, as a former practicing labor and employment attorney, if even some version of that is being said, I'm not sure for the process that that's a position you really want to take. It's not going to help to advance negotiations to insult the party that the parties that you're negotiating with, on the other side.
Yeah, and I think I want to point out too is if you don't feel like you're being respected behind closed doors, that becomes time to make a statement publicly. You saw that at the All-Star game, as they warmed up, they wore shirts that said, pay us what you owe us. And I think, what you said about the sentiment and the way that the players are being treated by the league in negotiations is also reflected in the way that people talk about these players for wearing these shirts, for example. You have people who are watching, seeing this and reacting and being like, these players are ungrateful and all these different things. And it's and they want to say things like you mentioned. They want to say things like, these players don't understand business. And none of that is true. And I think that the wildest part to me is if you've been tuned in, this isn't the first time that WNBA players have used their platforms to take a public collective stand. They've done that. That's been the foundation of this league. In the bubble, they wore shirts to support Black Lives Matter. They're doing it now for themselves, And so to me, it's and I think this is so important to say, if you dislike women and you don't think that they deserve to be paid for working, then there's nothing that I can say or Natalie can say or anybody in this space can say to change your mind. However, the facts are the facts. We've spoken about this. It doesn't matter if the WNBA is profitable, not profitable. If the coffee shop that you go to down the street is profitable or not profitable, at the end of the day, those workers need to get paid. Exactly. They're the ones that are creating the product that that is bringing in yes. revenue. In this case, the players are performing at such a level that the revenue is increasing.
Right.
So they deserve more of a share. This is not some complicated thing. This isn't the type of thing where you can go, these ungrateful women just don't get it. No, we get it. We all get it. And
you don't get to say we haven't profited yet, so we're gonna wait on paying you. You don't get to do that, right. And that's the point that you're making.
It don't work like that. Yes, it does not work like that. You don't understand how business works if you feel comfortable saying something like that. And I think that people should feel more comfortable saying things like that in a response. But ultimately, I think what I said initially is the most important thing, which is that you're really not going to change people's minds. That has become my new baseline. Even if you've got the facts, it is what it is.
Well, here's the thing, right? The people who have this backlash only have this backlash, as we know, because they are women and they look down at the WNBA. These are not, I couldn't believe that this was the reaction to t-shirts. And I just, I'm not even engaging in it. I'm not, because they're bad faith arguments, misinformed, ignorant, and those are all just true words. That's the kind of arguments they are. And so there's no point in it. This is how it works in sports. It is revenue sharing. That's how it works across sports. It's not even just the NBA. And yes, they absolutely deserve more. And look, I also asked them, and we've heard this too, if they would be prepared, if they have to go to a lockout. And Asia said they don't deserve that, and they hope that it doesn't. But yes, if they have to, they have to. And they've all been consistent in this stance, and they seem really united, and I like that. And I do hope it doesn't have to get to that. And I say that because not in a way that's unintentional, but the top of the league can usually withstand something like that more than players in the middle or like lower salaried players. And so because the players at the top have other opportunities or more opportunities that extend to earn income outside of just their salaries, right? And so I really do hope that we don't have to go to a lockout, but I am concerned because of how far apart they seem to be. And so if they're this far apart, anything can happen, but if they're this far apart, it makes me a little nervous. And so, this was a statement put out by the WNBPA, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically, it talked about, the fact that the response to the proposal fails. The response to their proposal by the league, that is. It fails to address the priorities we voiced from the day we opted out. A transformational CBA that delivers our rightful share of the business that we've built, improves working conditions, and ensures the success we create lifts both today's players and the generations that follow. And then they also further went on to say, we told the league teams exactly why their proposal falls so short. The business is booming. Media rights, ratings, revenue, team valuations, expansion fees, attendance, and ticket sales are all up in historic fashion. But shortchanging the working women who make this business possible stalls growth. The only thing more unsustainable than the current system is pretending it can go on forever. Callie, really strong words there from the union. And, even though I practice employment law on the management side, which means I was an advisor to management, the employers, I want to make it very clear that my stance is that I am pro-player and I am pro these players right now getting more money. They deserve it. They absolutely do. This product is nothing without them. So all these owners that want to get teams now, everyone wants to invest in facilities and stuff like that. Invest in the women who have to do that. And that doesn't mean just giving them resources but saying, hey, we don't have to pay you. That also means paying them like they should. The reason you're interested in it now, right, is because they've showed what they can be. So pay them. Pay them.
Absolutely. That was a mic drop moment.
Okay. Well,
to be clear, though,
thank you for tuning in with us. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Did you want to have a last word?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in with us today for the WNBA on NBC. I'm pretty sure Callie and I will be here talking more union and CBA. So don't worry, this won't be the last of this conversation. But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you do not miss out. Thanks.